Welcome back to the Deck Circle Podcast. I am your mustache-having host, Nick Zaniboni, with my very good friend, Mr. Jason Beckner. How are you today?
What is up, my mustached friend Nick? Let's look. We need to get that thing nice and full. Like it's.
Oh be yeah, dude. This is no. It can get fuller, but like this is like one. If I ever want my wife to kiss me.
Yeah.
She's pretty anti-mustache. She's fine with like my scruff is fine, but if I have a mustache, she's usually repulsed. But you know what? That's a story for a different day. So it is my favorite part of the show, which is the cold open question of the week. I don't know if you've been on Twitter today, Jason. Have you? Yes, or X, whatever you call it.
I mean, just a little bit. I've been kind of busy with work, but I was on there a little bit. But
all right. I don't know if you saw a bunch of MLB players were claiming that they were on the cover of MLB The Show.
I did see this.
So I think we're up to maybe 4 or 5 players are now claiming to be on the cover of MLB The Show. One was mustache-inspired Paul Skeens.
Yep.
I believe Ellie De La Cruz was the first one to say it. Anthony Volpe, which is just a joke. Get out of here with that. And Gunnar Henderson.
Yep.
So I want you to tell me, who do you think should be on the cover? It does not need to be any of those players at all. Just anybody you want. Ready, set, go. All right, Jason, what do we got?
Good question. I think there's a lot of people that I think deserve to be on it. I saw the Ellie De La Cruz, I'm like, oh, that makes complete sense. They always like to put like the big flashy guy on the cover. We've had Chisholm, Vlad last year. But I think, Ellie's a really good choice. I think Bobby Witt Jr. would be a really great choice.
There it is. There is the correct answer, Mr. Jason.
Is that who you'd like to?
Is the player to put on it. He's just due. I understand that it's Kansas City, but also like at least Cincinnati,
Yeah.
And as like a baseball player, Bobby Witt is better than Ellie. He might not be as fun or like as charismatic, but if we're judging on baseball ability, I'm going with Bobby Witt. Unless they do some sort of like triple cover or something where they have like a bunch of guys on it, which I'm in favor of. But
yeah,
we didn't hear a peep out of Bobby Witt today, so he might not even be involved.
Right. Well, like the multi-athlete cover is kind of sick. I don't know if you like play PGA 2K, but this year they're doing the multiple athlete cover, so I can see them following suit.
Multiple athletes. So I think we should do multiple athletes, and I think Bobby Witt should be involved. If Anthony Volpe is anywhere near the cover of this video game, I will not purchase it. Not because he's a Yankee, but because he's like, fine. Like, give me fucking anybody else other than him. So that, I guess my answer is Bobby Witt, but also anybody but Anthony Volpe.
Agreed. All right, well, this week, we're going to talk about just a couple of guys here that, maybe you should know about, not just for your, your redraft leagues, but mostly for your dynasty leagues. That's going to be some rookies and some prospects that you should know about for the 2025 season. Again, this isn't going to be, oh, you need to know about Jason Dominguez. Oh, you need to know about Dylan Cruz. These are going to be guys that, maybe you may not think of or that you're considering for your league or guys that you would normally go and trade for. I think we did a pretty good job of highlighting some of the guys maybe more lesser known. So I think we'll go through and give each of our guys some rookies that are at least will most likely make their debut in 2025. I don't know if they'll start the season on the roster, but not all rookie of the years break camp with the big league, a la Paul Skeens last year. So you don't have to be on the opening day roster to win rookie of the year in baseball. So some of guys we'll get into here real quick. But before we do so, let me talk about Fantrax. You should be playing your fantasy baseball on Fantrax. And if not, you need to switch over right now. The days of playing on Yahoo, ESPN, for God's sakes, are over. Those leagues are just not adequate enough, especially if you're playing Dynasty. I don't know how you play Dynasty on any of those formats. The player pool at Fantrax is just leaps and bounds better than those other sites. The customization is leaps and bounds better on Fantrax. So go ahead and switch your league over today by going to fantrax.com/fantasy six-pack and get that league moved over today. I think it would be better to start off with the guys that we think will be rookies and actually make a debut this year, or at least have a chance to make a debut this year, and we'll save the prospects for the end more. So why don't we go ahead here and talk about, you want to go ahead and kick us off here with your first guy. That's going to be Kumar Rocker.
All right. I believe 3 or 4 years ago, it was him and Jack no, it was probably closer to 3. It was him and Jack Leiter at Vandy. And it was because that was when the Red Sox were like somewhat not tanking, but like weren't good. So I really like to keep up with them. But Rocker got injured because that's what pitchers do, because there is no such thing as a pitching prospect. However, going into last year, there was a lot of relief. People were like, well, let's just make him a reliever because he wasn't doing too great. However, Rocker was awesome last year. And it was so sneaky. And he even started with he joined with the Rangers. Yep. And he performed. And the K rate was great. Let me just actually get the actual number. Hold on 1 second. Sorry. I think I have it right here. It was 20, basically 26%. Yeah. And what's big for me was the walks too. His whip was 1.54, which is great for because his issue was always he can throw the ball 1,000,000 miles an hour, but is it going to hit? Is it going to be in the zone? And he seemed to have really found that. And I think the Rangers are going to be close to a team where you kind of look at the pitchers that they have, because they've done a very good job at developing pitching. So he's definitely someone that I have my eye on. Hold on 1 second. My eye on for this upcoming year. And currently, I don't know if Roto has him not even listed as their top 6 pitchers, but going through this, we have Eovaldi and Jacob deGrom. I'm telling you, one of them gonna get and even someone like Tyler Mahle also gets hurt. All of these guys get hurt. And eventually talent just wins out. And I really think that Rocker has that talent. As we can see here, there's a lot of red there. Yeah. And I think he's being undervalued in a lot of ways, especially because I don't want to say prospect fatigue, just because he was drafted in 2022. So it's not that far away, but he's 25 and he's someone that we've heard of for a very long time, just because of his high school pedigree. And then we saw, he went to Vanderbilt, and he was we're still talking about the 3rd overall pick in 2022. We're not talking about a late 2025 pick, this guy has the pedigree of a first round talent. And I think we're ready to see it. He went 11 innings. He was 0-2, which is fine. We don't care about wins. We care about the quality of the innings, and he was given the quality innings.
Yeah, no, I like this a lot. Again, coming out of Vanderbilt, there was him or Leiter was going to be number 1 overall, and pitcher wise, and obviously he went, but then was not signed by the Mets, which probably was better for him, because I think the Texas Rangers pitching development is probably better than the Mets. So, yeah, I like this pick a lot. Like I said, the strikeout rate's really great. He reduced, limits the hard hit rate. The walks were a little bit less to be desired, but again, for a rookie in 11 innings, that's a pretty small sample size. I wouldn't be caught up too much in the 11% walk rate. That's what was that, 2 batters or something like that? Yeah. It's not that much in that small sample size. So I think he absolutely can make his appearance again, because I made a small appearance of a cup of coffee last year in September. So I would definitely not be shocked to see him get at least, maybe 10, 15 starts in 2025. So definitely something to keep on your radar here for sure.
Yeah, I recently traded for him in a league with former guests Bob Osgood, and I traded Logan Webb for Rocker, I think a second round pick, and Josh Bell just because I needed a backup first baseman. And what was so funny is in my conversation with them, I was like, these are the two most opposite pitchers. Webb is a maybe like 8K per nine guy and steady Eddie, but Rocker is very boom, or he could very well be a bust by the end of this season. So he's someone that I'm really kind of hitching my wagon to, especially in a dynasty league, because I think you can get him at like a pretty reasonable-ish price, as opposed to if he booms by the end of this year, you're not going to be able to get him.
Yeah, I know they'll always be linked together just based on not only they went to school together, but they were drafted basically at the same time and now they're on the same team, and that's Rocker and Lowder. But I'm curious to see, who do you think would have a better career going forward? Because we've seen Lowder come up now, and he has struggled quite a bit. I know when you're in college and you're dominating with the fastball, that you can get away with that in college. You get to the majors here, and everyone throws, high 90s, and you can't really dominate hitters with that high velocity with a fastball. So I think I'd be curious. I don't know if I'm ready to plant the flag on who'll be better, but yeah, I don't know. Do you have any opposition to one or the other?
I mean, I think it's Rocker is better, but I think we've really found. I think I'm just hitching my wagon to the Cole Reagans thing. Like, we have these top prospects that you don't necessarily hit right away. Like, baseball's hard. Professional base pitching is hard because, again, you're used to pitching to someone that doesn't know how to hit a 96-mile-per-hour fastball, as opposed to everyone knows how to. So you have to find other ways to get people out. So I'm definitely interested in both of them this season, honestly. And I actually think that Lowder might actually be the better relief option.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was going to. I feel like he's going to be one of those failed starters that just ultimately ends up in the bullpen, and may even get, I don't know for sure, but he could end up getting a high leverage situation if he can develop a better secondary pitch aside to pair up with that fastball.
Also funny that I mentioned Cole Reagans, and he was a Ranger.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly. All right. Well, that's your guy. I'm gonna go here on and talk about my guy here, and I'm gonna talk about Brady House. I'm sure if you've been playing Dynasty for the last few years now, I'm sure you're familiar with it. It was the 11th overall pick a few years back, 2021. But I wanted to find a guy that was a little bit more, again, on like the dark horse side of things. And some guys he may or may not even make an appearance this year, but I feel like it's somebody worth noting because he did get a non-roster invitation to the spring training this year. So I think it's worth noting. I feel like, combine that with the Nationals have nobody. They don't really have like a cornerstone player that they can put in at third base or second base, which is where Brady House most likely fits in, defensively wise. But he just coming off his best power season in his professional career, as he hit 19 home runs in 2024, and that's back-to-back double-digit home run seasons. For someone that, came out of, high school when he was drafted, it's kind of it's nice to see that, he's kind of developed and matured that body. He's up to over, I think he's like 6'4", 210 now, so kind of filling out the frame really nicely as he matures here. The strikeouts are a little bit of a concern. He's kind of had that 25 K rate or higher at almost every level here in the minors, which, you almost assume that would kind of project higher when you get to the majors. So you're probably looking at almost 25, 30, somewhere between 25 and 30%. So don't get me wrong, strikeouts are definitely a concern for Brady House. But I think, again, somebody that's going to be able to come up and make some sort of fantasy impact in 2025 that's a little bit lesser known is someone, like I said, Brady House. He gets the non-roster invitation to spring training. He could obviously break camp. I don't foresee him breaking camp because they do have some options in Washington. But we're also talking about a team that's not competing. They have this young crop of guys that they're kind of probably trying to like group together, right? With like James Wood and Cruz and Wood and now House and some of these other guys that they got in the Soto trade. So, CJ Abrams, I guess, another one you kind of group in that core. So I could see Brady House definitely getting some playing time, maybe more or less like at the second half of the year. And if you can go on some sort of nice run here at the second end of the year, I think you'd be a name worth monitoring for 2025 and beyond.
Yeah, I think this is the perfect time to buy him because I think people are low on him currently, just because, like you mentioned, the strikeout stuff didn't have a great year last year. Out of someone that's 6'4", over 200 pounds, you want more than 19 home runs.
Yep.
If you're going to have the height, you might as well hit the ball far. So, but yeah, totally agree. I think this is someone that I would be monitoring just as value because I think people are going to be low on him, especially now, like we're in first-year player draft season. Like you might be able to get him for like a second or third round pick just because someone wants a new shiny toy as opposed to, the old 21-year-old.
Yeah.
Like he's definitely someone that I would probably be targeting for sure.
Yeah, for sure. I know that he's gotten a little bit of fatigue now. He's drafted in 2021. He was out of prep school, and I think I want to say, I was 11th overall, but he was being drafted, I want to say at least in the around, top 5, definitely top 10 FYPD.
Yes.
I know even in 30 Rock, I think I drafted him, and I think I got him at like 3rd or 4th overall in my first year play draft. So he was definitely getting a lot of helium at draft time. So, I don't know. It's good to see, that he might be actually getting a little bit of a run here. So, yeah,
the best opportunity is an opportunity. So like he just needs at bats, and like that's sometimes you just gotta sink or swim, and hopefully he can swim.
Yeah, exactly. All right, let's move on here to some more guys here. But before we do so, do you like the content you're seeing now? Do you want to get more content like this? You can get tons of great content over at our website at fantasysixpack.net. You can subscribe to be a member today. You're going to get access to all our rankings. There's a ton of access that you're going to get when you become a member. So definitely get today. And I know right now, I believe we're running a promo right now. If you go to fantasysixpack.net/plans, you can use promo code F6PMLB25. I think I'm sorry, I forgot the code already. But just going over there and head to get the plans and become an all access member today. Next guy we're going to talk about here. I think, we've each kind of thrown out some of our rookies. Let's keep going on with the rookie train here. We'll go with your guy.
Yeah, man.
Zach Dezenzo.
Yeah, I wish he was more Italian, if we're being like, maybe like Antonio Dezenzo. Yeah, this is someone that I kind of bought last year, and I don't want to toot my own horn, but I think I was right on Mr. Zach Dezenzo. And the only reason I was targeting him is 6'5", 220 pounds.
Yep.
An absolute horse. Usually a corner infielder for the Astros. Had a great year last year, honestly. I know he hit basically 300, had a high OBP over 350. Only 7 homers for the 6'5", and I know, whatever. He did get called up to the big leagues this year. I mean, last year. He did struggle, but not something I'm really worried about because, again, he only had 62 at-bats. And like I've already stated, baseball is hard. So you really got to just give him a chance. And do you want to know what he did in Puerto Rico? He played in the Winter League, Jason.
Okay.
He hit 361 with a 438 OBP, 9 walks, 9 strikeouts, and played the outfield. We even heard the GM of the Astros maybe last week saying that he's going to get time in the outfield during spring training. My favorite thing in the world is versatility in a fantasy baseball player, especially in daily leagues. If right now he has a first and third base, if he also gets outfield, that's going to be so much more valuable than just the first and third base. So this is someone I'm very excited about. He's gigantic. I think he has 20 home run pop. And for what you can get for him, I think he's completely worth it. I think he's like a top 200 prospect on like prospects list. So that's real. I think this is going to be the time to buy him.
Mm-hmm.
Either that or he'll be unrosterable in 6 months, but we'll see.
Yeah, no, again, like I said before, these are not guys where you're most likely have heard about or you think about when you think, what's some of these top name players. We're trying to give you some guys that are maybe lesser known and guys you may not have heard of before, especially for some of those dynasty leagues. This is definitely a guy that's fits the bill for those markings. The playing time's going to be there. Kyle Tucker's gone. They're probably looking for some sort of replacement in the lineup. Maybe not defensively, but in the lineup. Gotta love a guy that's drafted in the 12th round, 373rd overall.
Value.
Making a push for a spot in the Houston's lineup. Love that. Love that. All right. I just realized this, that we both picked one hitter, one pitcher, and I talked about my hitter. And you know what I mean? Like we kind of swapped that. I just noticed that. I like that. So I'm gonna go to my guy here now. Rhett Lowder to the Cincinnati Reds. What's that?
He also has a mustache.
Yeah, exactly. This guy I know is like, not super down the list. He's not Zach Dezenzo or Brady House, but a little bit more well-known name, kind of like how Kumar Rocker was. He did make his appearance and made his debut in 2024. But I think in those 6 starts, a little bit of mixed results. He did finish with 30 innings pitched. The strikeouts were a little underwhelming, and the walks were a concern. But even with those control issues, he's still very effective. He had a 1.17 ERA, didn't give up a home run, only had a 1.27 WHIP. This was a guy that was drafted very high, had a lot of draft day hype. Basically, I think, I try to remember all these FYPs, but I'm pretty sure in FYPs he was going as like one of the top pitchers in his class, if not the number one pitcher in his class for FYPD. So definitely a lot of hype behind him. I think, Cincinnati's got some question marks in their rotations. Just guys like Nick Martinez. Nothing against Nick Martinez, but I don't foresee him getting 30 starts. They're going to be needing some depth. And worst comes to worst, he comes up and just becomes a long rotation piece, or a swing man, gets that like spot starts every once in a while. He'll most likely be the first man up for Cincinnati, especially after making his debut last year. Features a really good 4-pitch mix of fastball, slider, sinker, and changeup. Changeup is but his changeup being the best of his offerings. Again, won't break camp on the opening day rotation. I could see him being possibly being in the bullpen, long arm on opening day, but most likely goes down to AAA, continues to get stretched out as a starter. And I think he'll be able to, he might even be up as soon as whatever that deadline is. It's usually May 2nd or something like that, 35 days after the start of the season or something like that. I could see him coming up and making an impact here for your fantasy team and your dynasty team. So that's what I got on Rhett Lowder.
Yeah, I really like him. And he's not going to wow you, but I think since day one of this podcast, I've stated you need pitchers just like this. He's not going to hurt you. He's going to get you the innings that you need, and he's going to be good. Unfortunately, I do own him. Nobody wants him. Can't even give him away. I'm saying couldn't get a late first round pick in an FYPD for him, which is why, because if he was coming out in this draft in FYPD, say he pitched in Japan and had the same exact outcomes in Japan that he had here, people would be like, oh, he's top 5 pick. So definitely someone that I would just hold on to, just because, again, the Reds rotation is a bit weird. It's got Andrew Abbott. I couldn't pick Andrew Abbott out of a lineup. We got Hunter Green, speaking of boom or bust, Hunter Green could very well win the Cy Young or be a closer by the end of the year.
Yeah.
We got Lodolo's there, they really kind of just mastered past Green is just the okay pitcher. They got Brady Singer, which is silly, Andrew Abbott, Nick Martinez, and Nick Lodolo. It's very uninspiring of a pitching rotation. I guess it's kind of like how they have a bunch of like middle infielders. They have a bunch of just like average pitchers too.
Yeah.
So I think it's just the Reds are just mid, and that's okay.
Yeah. Again, this is a guy that's going to come up and, especially in a deeper dynasty, it's going to eat innings for you and help out on some of those ratios for sure.
Yeah.
All right. Well, those are our, guys that can make a rookie impact here. So I think now it's time to jump into everyone's fun topic, and that's prospects. Some of the prospects that you may want to know about and identify as some guys you may want to try and buy for this season coming up. Start with your guy here first, Colby Thomas. I called it of just the Athletics because I don't even know what they are anymore.
Yeah, dude. When I sent you the thing, I was like, do we call them Sack? Because I was gonna do Oakland, like Oak, but I was like, I don't even know.
Right.
So Colby Thomas of the Athletics. Again, somebody that what up, Joe? Somebody that I've been looking at the last few years, just kind of monitoring like what he's been doing. And last year was a crazy breakout, Jason. Between AA and AAA, batted .277, 31 homers, 15 stolen bases. That's all you need to know. 15 stolen bases and 31 homers, and he hits the crap out of the ball when he hits it. Unfortunately, he does like to strike out a bit, but that is a moot point when you can hit me 31 homers and steal 15 bases. I would say, honestly, he could maybe get 20-ish homers in the MLB, like in the big leagues. But again, that's fine because where you're getting this guy, could be, depending on the size of your league, he could be a free agent. He's probably a free agent in like 15-team leagues, not like sickos like Jason and I that are in like 20-somethings and 30-somethings. But definitely somebody I would monitor. I don't love the strikeouts. He's slightly older. He's turning 25 next year, so he's going to be 24 for this season. Definitely somebody I think you can pick up on your waiver wire or whatever's going on. I'm excited just to see this because I've owned him for like 2 years just because I was like, all right, let's just see what happens. So excited to see what he becomes, if he becomes anything.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. The power numbers are definitely one of the things that like you look at from Colby Thomas, and then the throwing some stolen bases. Like he's had double-digit stolen bases at almost every level he's been at, and every year that he's been, the 2 years that he's been around. So I mean, you love that. The walks are at a good rate. The strikeouts, I mean, they're a little alarming, but they're not like, oh my God, it's at 35% in the minors. So yeah, a little bit of an uptick when you get to the majors, but OBP is awesome. The OPS is awesome. And the best thing about this guy is in a couple of years, he's not even going to be on the Athletics. He'll be in some other team because the Athletics just treat everybody away that they develop anyway. So he'll be on a much better roster by the time he does break camp and get into one of these teams. So he's always got that going for him. So
yeah, his exit velocity is 93rd percentile. Just homers the ball. That's really it's wild.
He had almost 1,000 OPS at AAA last year. Again, it was only 37 games, but 1,000 OPS in AAA. I think it might be time to get him some at bats here in regular season, or at the major league level. So
yeah, I'm just gonna give another name to people just because for some reason I've had an affinity for Oakland Athletic outfielders, and that's gonna be Henry Bolt. Just that's it. I'm not gonna give anything else. Just also looking at Henry Bolt. That's it. Done.
Nice. Love the little throw in there at the end.
Yeah.
All right. Next guy here I'm going to talk about. This one is a little more obviously known, and it's Max Clark. He's donning our thumbnail of this episode. But I know we weren't going to talk about super well-known guys, but I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Max Clark in a prospect episode for 2025. I'm infatuated with this guy. Right now, this is my favorite. If I did rankings, and you took proximity out of your ranking, like where you rank guys, obviously guys that are about ready to make their debut get bumped up. So which, he's only 20 years old, so he's not going to make his debut anytime soon. But if I did that right now, Max Clark is my 1-1 when it comes to prospects. Dude's just a stud. Only 20 years old. Basically, when you look at his statistics, he's only made basically one full start because he was drafted in the 2023 draft. So a little bit of some professional at bats in 2023, but majority of his at bats have come in 2024. He finished the season with 75 runs, 75 RBIs, 29 stolen bases, 9 home runs, and a 129 WRC plus. This guy again was drafted out of high school, so he's still. This is the way the stats of a 19-year-old is putting up. So what's going to happen when in a couple years, when he matures a little bit more and fills out that frame? I would like to see the power numbers be up a little bit more, but I think that's mostly because you're 19 years old and the power's just not quite there yet. But I think he will eventually reach those power numbers, and I could definitely see 2020. I know I've seen comps of this before, and I don't disagree with it. I've seen a lot of Bryce Harper comps. Obviously, not quite as good as Bryce Harper because that's a generational talent. But think along those lines when it comes to Max Clark. And I think, like I said, I'd be remiss if we didn't do a prospect show without Max Clark. And I didn't even have the banner ticking at the bottom the whole time.
Didn't even have the banner up, Jason. Jason, when I was looking at this thumbnail, I thought one thing: this guy is too pretty. Good MLB play. And I think he looks like a TikToker, Jason.
Yeah, I'm not gonna
like doing dances. I think I'm just too old to get what Max Clark enjoys. I don't actually know if he's a TikToker, but he definitely is. So my evaluation of Max Clark is just be less pretty. I don't name one great pretty MLB player. You can't.
No. But
Bryce Harper's handsome and pretty. Two separate things.
Is a TikToker now too.
Yeah, dude. This is a quick sidebar. Bryce Harper on TikTok is so good.
Why is his eyes always look so creepy on that damn app?
I think it's an autoimmune disease.
Oh,
it's like
okay.
Pete Davidson eyes.
Yeah. Same concept. Yeah. Butthole eyes.
Butthole eyes. Thank you for saying it. Let's put that on a quote card.
All right, that's the first leg of our prospects here. Before we get into our last guys here, give me take a minute here about the Fantasy Six-Pack series that we got going on. I think we're going into our 4th season. Super cool, allows the fans to compete against any industry folk, but not just Fantasy Six-Pack. Obviously, we have all the Fantasy Six-Pack writers and industry people are in the league as well as other people from across the fantasy baseball industry. Tons of big names in there. Super fun this year, switching to weekly lineups. Love that idea. Weekly lineups. You get to compete against, I don't know, there's usually about 400 or 500 different players, people playing in the Fantasy Six-Pack series. Trust me, you don't want to miss out on this. Sign up today by going to fantasysixpack.net/the Fantasy Six-Pack series. Also, the winner gets this super sick trophy from Trophy Smack. So you don't want to miss out on this. Get your chance, not only getting a trophy, but bragging rights against all the fantasy baseball industry folks and winning again, not only playing in the league, but also the chance at winning a league against them. So jump over to the next year guy here, and we're going to talk about Moises Chace.
Moises Chace. So I've nailing everyone over the head with if there are certain organizations that I just trust. One of those organizations is the Baltimore Orioles. And you're going to say, well, Nick, Chace plays for the Phillies. However, the Baltimore Orioles signed Chace at one point, and then they traded him last trade deadline. So he was already on, I think I had him in 3 of my dynasty leagues just because I was like, okay, this is a pitcher. He's available for Baltimore. And he was very good last year, and he's starting to get some hype, especially I think mostly because he's on the Phillies now too, because they don't really have like the greatest pitching rotation, and there's a lot of room for Chace to maybe make an impact. So I'm just going to go over a couple of stats here for my guy. He dominated pretty much all year all year had a K percentage rate of 61%, which I actually think will be higher. He did have a walk issue, but Jason, do you know who else has walk issues? Every other young pitcher, because they don't know what to do. So that's really something that I've decided on is don't look at the walk rate until they're in the big leagues, because the whole walk rate thing, I think, is kind of not a myth, more of just like it doesn't tell the whole story, because again, these pitchers are nervous. It's just like a whole thing. So he's someone that I think, again, he's slowly starting to creep up prospect lists. You might find him in the top 100-ish, definitely by the end of the year, I think. And I think we see him, he's currently 21. I think we see him next year. And I'm excited to see him with a full year in the Philly system, because his numbers actually got better as soon as he got traded. So I'm definitely excited for him and just seeing where he goes.
Yeah. No, the strikeout rate potential with Chase is insane. And again, he's in two of the better pitching development organizations, right? He came from Baltimore and now he's in Philly. Like you said before, awesome org to develop pitching. Strikeout rates through the roof. Love the potential there. And also doesn't give up a ton of hard contact. Only gave up 8 home runs last year, which for the sample size, 80 innings, it's not that bad. I mean, you're talking about, and when he went to Double-A, he actually had more success at Double-A albeit a smaller sample, but he actually did better once moving up to Double-A, getting out of High A. So I'd love to see what he can continue to develop into this year. Obviously, he'll most likely spend all season at Double-A, which is not unordinary for a pitcher to jump from Double-A to Major League either. So I think he could definitely get in Double-A. Has a great, showing at Double-A. He can absolutely be making an appearance here next year.
Yeah, you might even see, especially with the Phillies being good, you might see him work out of the bullpen like come September, just to see what they got, because he's got the stuff that he even got a save last year. I don't know where that happened, but I don't think it'd be crazy to see him come out of the Phillies bullpen in August, September.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's a good call. Now I'll go to here. My last guy here. I just had to keep going with the guys that I just want to keep hammering over the head of people. That's Cooper Pratt. Been talking about Cooper Pratt since our FYPD draft show back in 2023 when we had Chris Plessing on. Again, just love everything Pratt does. Drafted in the 6th round. I think he ended up going for over slot money, I believe is why he fell, or he wanted more money. I can't remember exactly, but he fell over to the 6th round. Ton of hype around him. He's actually part of that same draft class as my other prospect, and Max Clark. So I guess I'm infatuated with the 2023 draft class right now. But since being drafted, he's shown great approach at the plate. A little bit of a work in progress in some areas, but in his first full 2024 season, 56 runs, 45 RBIs, 27 stolen bases, 8 home runs. The OBP is obviously a highlight from his last year. He's respectable 362 OBP. This is also, I feel like, just a classic Brewers player. They love these middle infield guys. Yep. They got the speed, they got the defense. Just more of a hit tool over power. I wouldn't expect a ton of power from Cooper Pratt going forward, but I would definitely venture to see him get double digits, 15 home runs. Obviously, the stolen bases might come down a little bit, but he could easily get to 15 at the major league level. Just an all-around solid player, and I think just not enough hype around Cooper Pratt right now. So
yeah, when you said his name, I assumed it was like a college bat, but he's only 20.
Yeah,
that's crazy. 6'4", a 6th round pick. Again, this is how you develop players. And I think we might have to start looking at the Brewers, because again, like you said, they do have a type, and it's the toolsy, usually white, outfielder, middle infielder type. And definitely someone I think he just got an invite to spring training. So we'll see what happens with him. He's someone that I will pay more attention to, and that's because of you.
Yeah, I was lucky enough to get him in most of my FYPDs because he wasn't really like getting a ton of hype at the time. But if you didn't, I acquired him in another league too. So I'm all in on Cooper Pratt. Again, nothing super flashy, but I think he's definitely someone that worth rostering and even some shallow dynasty leagues too. So
I like that.
All right, well, that's going to do this week's episode of the On Deck Circle. Next week we'll be back, maybe even doing some more prospects and rookies again next year, maybe a second edition. Had a lot of fun talking these guys with you, Nick, today. So maybe we'll get into some more guys next week, depending on what we got on tap here. But other than that, you got anything else before we get out of here?
Jason, we talked about this right before we went on air. I have my first draft of the season. Yes. That's going to be Sunday, and it is the Nerf draft. And I will come back with a review of the salmon Caesar salad.
Yes.
And I might even take a picture with it because it is now that of lore. And I'm hoping within the next couple of weeks to have our friend, Mr. Bob Osgood, join us just to go over just the draft as a whole. Maybe I'll see what he orders, and we can just do a food.
Yeah. We'll have a little food segment on about Jack and Joe's.
Yeah.
What the fuck's it called?
Jack and Joe's, but
Jack and Joe's.
Fine.
I can never get it right. I know it's Joe and somebody.
Yeah. No, it's definitely a name.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely intrigued to hear all about Nerf as well as the salmon Caesar salad, and I can't wait to get our buddy Bob Osgood on the show, see what he has to say about Nerf as well. So all good things to come in the next couple of weeks here. But other than that, Nick, I'll talk to you next week.